I'd say there are 5 most common types of injuries that I see because of elder abuse and neglect. Number 1 are pressure sores. We see pressure sores all the time in nursing home cases because the residents, especially the ones who are bedbound, are not turned and repositioned or gotten out of bed enough, so they develop pressure sores commonly on their heels or on their coccyx or backside. The number 2 type of injury we see from neglect in a nursing home is what we call the fall fracture case. This is when the elderly person falls in the facility because they're a high fall risk and maybe they hit their call light and nobody comes to help them right away, and they get up and try to go to the bathroom and they fall and they have an injury. Oftentimes they're fractured hips. That's a very common injury. Or sometimes they hit their head and get a subdural hematoma, and sometimes those falls lead to death. So, pressure sores, falls, fractures. I'd say number 3, probably infections. Commonly, we see urinary tract infections. And the reason we see urinary tract infections so often is because elderly people who cannot get up and go to the bathroom by themselves end up going to the bathroom while they're laying in bed in a diaper or just in their sheets. And if there's not enough staff in the nursing home, then they sit in their urine or feces for extended periods of time, and of course they end up getting a urinary tract infection. I'd say that's the number 3 most common type of injury we see. Number 4, I'd say would be dehydration and malnutrition. And this happens when the elderly person can't feed themselves, or maybe they don't have the dexterity to pour themselves a glass of water, or they certainly can't get up and go get a glass of water. And the nursing home is short-staffed and doesn't have enough people walking around and getting them water or helping them drink the water. It's not enough to just set water in front of an elderly person who can't grab a cup and bring it to their lips. I mean, you need to have enough staff there who can actually put the water up to their mouth or help them sip it through a straw. And that takes time. And a lot of times, if they're understaffed, they're not going to have enough people to prevent somebody from getting dehydrated. And number 5, I'd say we call it over-medication, or we call it chemical restraints. And that's when we've seen nursing homes where they don't want the residents yelling all the time or hitting the call lights all the time, and they really just want them to lay in bed and not be much of a bother to the staff. So they over-medicate them. So it's very common for me to get calls from the kids or children of people who are in nursing homes, and they say, Mom or Dad was fine and very communicative when they went into the nursing home, but now they're groggy. They sleep 20 hours a day. Every time I go in, I can barely wake them up. Well, that's possibly because they're over-medicated, or the nursing home possibly is using medications as a chemical restraint to keep the elderly person from needing as much help. So the 5 most common injuries I see from elder abuse and neglect in a nursing home: pressure sores, falls, fractures, urinary tract infections or other types of infections, dehydration and malnutrition, and over-medication.